Welcome to Misdirected Mark Off the Cuff. Today we're going to be talking about what are your favorite house rules for any game you've played and why. And I put this question to our Slack room, which you can get to by being a part of our Patreon. And there was a lot of discussion about it.
Boy, did they answer.
They tend to answer when I drop
It
things.
was a
in the
hearty
chat.
topic.
And good suggestions.
So here's my first one. I'll just throw this out there. This is from JT Evans. He said one of his favorite is granting up to a max of 3 inspiration in his D&D 5e game instead of 1, which allows for more heroic actions by players.
You have a similar one.
I do the same thing.
Yes.
Another one that was in here from somewhere, which we'll get to later, is that you can spend your inspiration after the roll, which is pretty much what everybody uses, even though it's not the actual rule. Because the actual rule for inspiration is that you have to spend it before you roll to give yourself advantage.
That's very similar to there's a common house rule in PBTA that you can assist after roll.
Yes.
You don't have
I
to.
like that rule.
I always like that rule.
Way better than before. I mean, it doesn't make any sense before because it's such a small
Trying
margin.
to do those things proactively is problematic. You're going into a thing like, well, gee, this is important. Maybe I should try doing it with advantage. But to me, it's way more effective to do those things after.
It also feels better, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I never understood why there's a bunch of D&D rules that say you can spend a resource after you make the roll, but before you know the result.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that.
Yeah. Let me know the
Like,
result.
just tell me the result, and then I'll make a choice.
Yeah. I mean, especially since inspiration is supposed to be kind of a narrative mitigating tool, right? Like this is a really important hit. Like I really need to make this hit. If I make it, great. The story goes in the way where I'm hoping it goes. And if it doesn't, this is where I want to spend my advantage. And forcing somebody to have to spend it up front, 50% of the time, it's a waste.
There's a couple other ones in here that I like to throw this
grab
in.
some.
The Cyberpunk 2021, where he allows the player to take
Such a
the
good
other
idea.
roles class only skills, but only up to a max of 1/3 of what their current roles class only skills were at.
Nicely in Cyberpunk Red,
Yeah.
they've actually fixed this
Oh,
rule.
so you could just do it.
Yeah, you actually can now multi-class with almost this house rule.
Yeah.
This is the give all the classes some amount of flexibility rule, right?
Yeah.
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 Same thing with there's another one in here from JT about allowing the cleric thief combos for demi-humans or multi-classed humans because that was not a thing in 2nd edition.
I think
I pretty much all, like 3rd edition did the best thing ever when they were just
you
like
could do whatever you
all
want.
classes, all species, like
Yep.
all
Just do
levels.
I'll be honest. I think that almost every game group I worked with did that in 1st edition too.
Yes.
Like we did the cleric thief combo, and we allowed humans to do it too. Like after the first campaign, we stopped putting level caps on.
Yes.
Because in 1st edition AD&D, it's like you could be like an elven fighter, but only the level 5, and a magic to level 11, and then that was it. You were done advancing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're like, nope, just
Blah.
take it all the top.
That's boring.
Yeah, I don't understand the design behind it. That's why. Because I don't think they did either.
I think the idea was because you got species abilities, the leveling tool versus humans was you got species abilities, but you could only advance so far. You could be in certain classes. And again, this was so Tolkien, right? Like, so
Yeah.
if you were either in the fighter or wizard, it was a little more lenient. But if you were like outside of that, like, no, the other way
No,
around.
it was rogue.
I never remember.
Every race could have unlimited level thief except for one, I believe. And then most other classes were capped out at lower levels, and some couldn't. Like, I don't think dwarves could take wizards at all. I know that elf was like fighter 7, magic user 11 because I played a lot of elves.
Sure.
The other thing was that multi-classing allowed for some combinations you couldn't have. Like in 1st edition D&D, wizards simply couldn't wear any armor. But if you were a fighter wizard, you could wear armor.
Yep.
Could you cast spells though? I think
Yes.
there was a penalty, wasn't there?
Not in the
pretty
1st edition. You're thinking of the spell penalty that you got in.
It was in 2nd edition. For
Wait a minute,
sure.
2nd edition. I didn't play a lot of 2nd edition.
I played a lot of 2nd
Yeah,
edition.
I bailed on D&D when 2nd edition.
Oh,
came
that
out.
no, okay.
So, yeah.
But I think that's like, I think the idea was, and I don't think it's a great trade because I like level capping versus what you got for species abilities. They weren't great. Like,
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. There were a couple of things like elves got proficiency in 10 weapons, including like all bows, most of the swords. So you could be an elven wizard with a sword and a bow, which is
Yes.
something that wizards couldn't have normally.
Yeah.
I don't think that it was a great trade-off. Also, species got a lot more language. If you were human, you got whatever languages your intelligence gave you. If you were an elf, you spoke elven, halfling, fairy, goblin, hobgoblin, orc, dragon, and like 3 other languages, all for free.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an extensive
And there
list.
was no other way to get languages in that game except for high intelligence.
Okay.
Now, I still think that's a fair trade-off, but then again, most players didn't make it past the level. I mean, in those days, you were lucky to make it to level 11 in D&D. But no, I think it's a good thing. He has one more in here, though. And he said that in Fate and Savage Worlds, he allows the players to grant their meta currency to other players at the table.
I've seen this rule before. With
I have
Sure, I don't have a big problem with that.
Yeah, it's actually codified into some of the settings for Savage
I
Worlds.
think this is like a new Deadlands rule. Like you could do this in like newer Deadlands.
I think in Deadlands there were always 3.
There were,
bennies.
but the one different color.
The only thing I ever required was there had to be a way for you
Yes.
to pump that person up. Like
Mhm.
you had to be able to yell at them, like, hey, you can do it, or like you had to do something.
Yeah, you can't
to-
just hand them a token.
Yeah,
and be
like,
here you go.
You had to do something in character to be like, I'm your hype man. Here's a Benny. Like,
Oh, I did a bunch of Betty things. When I was running my table source campaign that I did, one of the things I did every week was I would have a topic for the week. And I'm like, all right, we're going to talk. Everybody tell me something about the culture or rites of the religion your character follows. Everybody would tell something. We write it all down. Then we were building the culture of the world. And if anybody came up with something, even if it was minor, they got a special Benny. And that Benny could be applied anywhere in game, including supposed to give you a +1, which in Savage Worlds, a +1 is pretty big. It was basically what we said. We called it a background Benny. That because players were building on stuff. And sometimes they got extra ones. If somebody came up with something and the whole table suddenly got animated and we were talking about it for the next half hour, everybody got another one. But it encouraged people to, especially the quieter players, to participate.
I played in a Savage Worlds game where the GM who was running it had a house rule that gave out like 6,000 bennies before the game started. It was like Oprah's favorite things.
You get a Benny, and you get a
Right.
Benny.
Like it wasn't uncommon to start that game with like 7 or 8 bennies, like off the. It was intentional, but like it was.
It's
You'd be
ridiculous.
like sitting there with your Vegas stack of bennies at the start of the game and just be like, I'm gonna go do this thing. Oh, didn't work.
I'm all
Spend a
in.
Benny.
I'm
Spend a
all
Benny.
in.
Spend a Benny. Oh, I passed.
And that's laudable to a point. You know, you want to give them an influx of bennies so that they've got that currency to play with. But the biggest problem with all of these currencies is that you have to refresh them when the people run out, which is why I hate the 1 point of inspiration in D&D.
Yep.
You get that 1 point, you use it, you're done. And now with the playtesting that they're doing for 1D&D, they're testing rules for other ways to gain new ones so that you can refresh those quicker.
Just a reminder, if you hit up the backlog of Misdirected Mark, we do a whole topic on currencies.
Yes, we do.
That talks about the cycle of currencies, the economy of currencies, and the importance.
It was quite the fine episode, I must say.
It is actually one of our finer ones, but it talks about the necessity of how to put currency back into an economy.
Now, I will say one thing. As we talk about being able to pre-buy currencies, I did have one GM running a strange game back when I was in Syracuse that had a little stand-up card in front of him of things you could bribe the GM with to get extra things.
Oh God, stop that!
You
people.
don't do this. Do not do that. I mean, he had things like bring him lunch, get 3 rerolls.
This is for
Oh.
comedy. This is for
Yeah.
comedy here. This
Yeah.
is not for.
Yeah.
What we're talking
do
about
not
is
do
for
that.
comedy
Do
and
not
for
do that. So
Cautionary
don't-
tales.
yes. Yeah,
I want to
don't
say
bribe
that
the GM.
I want to say I'm a better GM, but I think if you brought me coffee before the game, you probably getting a Benny. Like, if you're not getting a Benny, I can almost guarantee the first NPC isn't going to attack you. Like, just
That's actually better than not giving them the Benny and then giving them the
right.
Benny.
Yeah.
Just, that guy hesitates. Wink at the person. Raise your coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
So what other
Let's move on. Yes. So Jim Crocker is the one who talked about the inspiration, the roll inspiration after seeing the result of your first roll.
Yep.
My inspiration rule is that it's not inspiration exactly anymore. It's basically if you have disadvantage, like roll your disadvantage and then see if you succeeded or failed. If that didn't work, spend your inspiration to roll another d20 that has nothing to do with disadvantage. It's the whatever that roll is what it is.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's
I like that.
I like that one. I also use grit dice. Those are
yep.
like the hero dice. Like you get one, and then if you roll it, you can roll it to add a d6 to your d20 roll. I love those two rolls together. The 3 inspiration points roll after, and the grit dice. It really makes your characters feel pretty potent. Like you can really not have.
And doesn't unbalance anything though.
No, what's nice about it is, so inspiration is a big fix, right? I rolled a 2 with my bonuses. Statistically, there's no way I can close the gap
Correct.
on this AC, right? So I can spend some inspiration, take a complete fresh roll at it, see if I can't get better. But the grit die is great for, I know I'm close, right? I got a 14. I know it's like a 16. I'm going to go spend this grit die, which isn't a big heavy-handed tool, to just see if I can't
nudge it?
this, like, just nudge it over the edge kind of thing.
It's just one more thing that makes those characters feel heroic. Like they're a cut above the other characters in the game.
Yeah.
So I really like that, because if you're tone of your game is about being heroic,
Yeah.
then having some tools in the game that actually allow you to do heroic things.
I was just gonna say that is perfect. If you're shooting for heroic, that's a really nice way to buff that up a little bit. If your table prefers something a little more gritty, then obviously you're probably not going to go that way, and that's fine.
I would offer, if your table wants to play gritty but still wants a little nudge factor, go get Dungeon Crawl Classics and take their luck mechanic and go plunk it in your game, because that is a non-replenishable point-by-point thing where if it's really important and you want to spend a point or two, cool. But if not, you have it for emergencies, but there's only so much luck.
Yeah, that's an interesting
And
mechanic.
as you spend it, it's also tougher to roll against.
Yeah, I like the rules that I've seen out there. If you want a grittier game, but not deadly, but something that feels a little bit more visceral, I guess. When you get dropped to 0 hit points in 5e, you take an injury. I mean, that injury can heal. I've seen them around, but
Is there like an injury table?
yeah, like,
That's like Forbidden Lands.
Yeah.
So that game makes the game gritty without being deadly. I think there's a consequence to getting reduced to 0 hit points. And it might not be easy to heal with just a simple healing spell. Like maybe you need a lesser restoration or something, a higher restoration depending on the injury that you take. What were you going to say, Jerry?
I was going to say, well, if you don't want to talk about gritty, we can go to the next thing, which was the warden talking about his house rules for headshots in D&D.
Oh yeah, there's those too. Yeah,
And he says that in his, and it's +5 that targets armor class. But if you hit them and you do more than 25% of their damage, you kill them.
I wonder what the difference between gritty and deadly is, because there's got to be a difference between those two things, right?
Yeah, I'm glad that works for him. I would not play that game.
This to me is the Unreal Tournament equivalent of both enabling headshots and dual pistols.
Yeah.
I will say this. It's a decent enough rule, but I can almost guarantee there's one character at the table playing a ranger who's got this thing totally tweaked out in feats and stuff like that, right? Like they easily have compensated for that +5.
The Archer Ranger with all of his stuff buffed out. Yeah.
The other characters are like, nah, like I can't really use it. But like that Ranger is like, oh, I got this. Like I built, like by 6th level, I got, not only do I have that +5 compensated in some bonuses and a magic item or something, but I'm doing enough extra damage with whatever I've picked up to guarantee I can hit like that 25 threshold.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I'm not saying it's not a good idea for some games. I'm just saying it's not that would not be my cup of tea. But if you're looking for a good headshot, it's not a bad rule for how to simulate headshots.
I would also say my question would be is, as a house rule, you don't have to make that rule symmetrical.
You don't, but they put it in there with the idea that it could also be used against them.
Oh, well,
Like
that
was the rule that was
I
stated.
mean, that's well, if you guys really want it, like it might turn on you kind of thing.
Good for the goose, good for the gander.
But I'm very okay with asymmetrical house rules where it's like, hey, we're playing a heroic game. You guys could headshot some stuff because that's cool. But the end, like some goblin isn't going to whack you. Like
This is where in 5th edition that'd be a problem. Because in 5th edition, the way that the monsters level up, they compensate for the fact that a player might have 3 attacks at 2d6 because that give the monster 1 attack at 66.
It depends on the monster.
It does. But I'm saying, but there's a lot of them that are like that, where the monsters are doing more damage per hit. They hit less often, but they're doing more damage per hit than the players are cranking out per hit.
It depends on the monster. Right?
I said it. It said it depends on the monster.
If it's an ogre, like it has that built into it. But if it's like a kobold or a fast displacer beast, it'll get multi-attack.
Yeah.
And they're not built the same, right? It's an asymmetrical design anyway.
No, but I'm saying that this is like you and I've talked about this before. Another game where like a spearman in D&D, if I have a spear, I get 3 attacks at 1d6. He's just going to do 2d8 with 1 hit.
Depends.
And maybe I'm saying there are those kind of things that occur. That's where this 25% thing could be a problem, because if I'm doing more attacks and less damage,
it's
he
harder
has a
to
better
get to that number.
but he has a better chance of doing 25% of my health with 1 hit.
If you want my 5th edition opinion on this, I think that's a terrible rule for 5th edition D&D.
Sure.
But he did it for
Warden did say it
3.5,
was Warden did say it was for 3.5.
Where also a +5 to armor class isn't as much of a, like in 5th edition D&D, a +5 armor class is ridiculous.
Oh man, it actually makes a lot more sense for 3rd edition.
Yeah.
Because the 3rd edition monsters and stuff were built the same way as characters.
Yes.
Which was
Yeah,
a
that's true.
terrible design choice, but that was the design choice that Peter Atkinson wanted.
It was a lot of work.
But a +5 to like a +5 to your armor class when your armor class is 15 is a lot different than a +5 to your armor class when your armor class is 56.
Well, I mean 3rd edition had scaling armor class that went way, way high. So it didn't matter.
So it does make a difference.
Kander would love a +5 to his armor class right now.
We should one day talk
Kander
about
wants a +1 to his armor class right now.
We should one day talk about asymmetrical rules.
We should.
That's
Yeah.
a good mechanical topic, asymmetrical rules.
Oh yeah, the other thing that was interesting about this from Jim Crocker is there such a thing as a house rule in Powered by the Apocalypse?
Custom move.
Is that really a house rule? It just
Says
sort of
you're allowed to
assumes
make-
that you're writing them.
It's the closest thing there is to a custom rule.
It is the closest thing to a custom rule.
I have seen a couple times in games where GMs, and I'm like, it's not in the rules, where GMs have granted based on situations like a +1 forward. Like
Isn't
not because it trailed off of another move, but I've seen games, I've played in games where people have been like,
Yeah, I've done it.
sure, I think I've done it too in Hydra Hackers.
Yeah.
That technically probably is a house rule.
Okay.
Probably.
I would call it a house.
It was
rule.
never codified, but like based on the narrative, I was like, okay, this thing you're doing has a really good chance of working. Take a +1 forward, but that's not a GM move.
No, it's not. I can't remember if it's written in any of those books. That's why most of the Powered by the Apocalypse rule books that I've read are really bad.
Oh, in terms of
In terms of like laying out their rules.
I think it depends, and I think it also depends on which generation.
I said the ones that I read.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think some of the later generations got much better at writing those
Yeah,
things.
absolutely.
Mhm.
But those early ones, when everybody was kind of like a free for all, what was the one? The Hood.
It's bad.
Like that one's like it's messy, and you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, this doesn't all work, but I'm gonna make this.
There's
Action
a lot
Movie
of stuff
World
like
is the
that.
same way. Action Movie World doesn't completely work,
Yeah.
but it works enough that it's fun, and you're only playing it for one shots.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's okay.
All right, Ange has another one for D&D. Ange Murray, head gnome. In one D&D group that he's in, the GM does a minor yours when it comes to healing and hit points, meaning that you roll while the GM rolls behind their screen. If you don't like your roll, you can choose to take their roll without knowing what it is. Most of the time this works out in your favor, but sometimes it doesn't. But it's always been a nice thing to have when you're rolling a really annoying low roll. Like you're rolling, we're going to cast my healing spell, and I roll like 3d4 + 1, and I roll 5. The GM rolls as well and says, you can take my roll. Now, they might have rolled a 3 or a 4, but you have a chance of getting a better roll out of that. That's an interesting roll and gives kind of an odd luck thing back and forth.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
I would have no trouble playing in a game like that. I don't know if that's necessary, but I think if the GM wanted to do that, I would have no trouble playing in that game.
I'm way meaner than that, I suppose. I'm like, you can take the average you can roll if you roll, then that's what you get.
I'm way nicer. I'm like, max hit points, just take them and go.
That's a rule that I had for a long time when I was running my 5th edition game and when I was running Pathfinder. Was I just told players, you get your max hit dice every time you level up. Number one is it gives the players with bigger hit dice a much bigger advantage. It's like being a barbarian with D12 versus the wizard at D6 really makes a bigger difference.
That's another, let's push this thing into heroic territory because these people are now all John McClane.
And especially at low levels like level 2, 3, 4, it encourages the players to do more stupid things because they've got more hit points.
Be creative in your solutions to problems because you know you've got the hit points to take the oops.
And it also allows, and especially when you've got players that don't have system mastery and are still learning the rules or just aren't good at remembering rules, it gives them a little bit more armor to survive the game. Because to be honest, if you're looking at average +1 versus max hit dice for a barbarian at 5th level, you're looking at the difference between 28 + 12. So it's going to be, you look at 40 plus. So you're looking at the difference between like 50 hit points and 69 or 75 hit points, which isn't a huge difference, but it makes a difference of like 1 hit for that barbarian. I just found it was a lot of fun. It also kept, for the games I was running, which were more higher fantasy, higher magic, it pushed the heroes towards doing, maybe they'll try jumping over that cliff because they have a chance of surviving if they fall kind of thing. So that was one of my little house rules for D&D.
Sounds like a good one. Okay, this then devolved into the experience point house rule debate.
Here we go.
I
love the experience point house rule debate.
I do. Mm-hmm.
I am team milestone all the way. I love milestone XP.
I am not depending on the game. I love experience points in Dungeon World.
Let me back that up.
Yes.
For most D20 games, in nearly
Sure.
every D20 game I've ever run, milestone XP.
I'm a fan of the experience point rule in DCC. You get an experience point every time you clear a room, regardless of what you did.
Oh yeah.
That's a great rule for Dungeon Crawl
Mhm.
Yeah,
classes.
and that counts running away.
Yes.
That counts
Yes,
running
yes.
away
Yep.
because it's just surviving the
Surviving
room.
the encounter.
I
is
think you
the
have to
point.
move to the next. Like even if you enter the room and then leave that room, you got the experience point for that room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You won't
lived.
get any.
You lived to get
Yeah.
out of the room.
You won't get any for the next rooms farther down until you get
Yeah.
past that room. But you got the experience points for surviving the room.
When I was writing Legends of the Ancient World, the 2nd or 3rd edition that they're doing, that was our rule for the programmed adventures, was that you got an experience point for every encounter you had, whether it was a combat encounter or an exploration encounter, whatever. And those points were used to build your characters up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're doing now with it, but that was what we were doing when we were playtesting some of the original rules. Milestones are good for games that have levels, like D&D is a good one. A game like Cyberpunk or something where there aren't actual, where it's just you keep building your characters based on points as they go. That's a little different. And of course, in a game like Face Rip Marvel, like all your experience points are based on either who you fought or the things you did when you weren't fighting, because your karma experience points rewards go up and down based on did you keep a appointment kind of thing.
I thought it was pretty bad of Face Rip to say that if Wolverine killed somebody, he lost all his karma, which meant that he lost all of experience points.
It's awful.
Because that character would kill everybody.
And that was 80s Wolverine.
I know,
like,
right?
It wasn't like
Back then.
it wasn't like turn of the 21st century Wolverine where like maybe he's gonna kill someone. This is like straight up like just murdered everybody in the Hellfire Club.
It gets worse because one of the things you have in the game are group pools where everybody can put their experience points into a group pool, which allows anybody to draw off that karma pool. And if anybody kills somebody, it drops your group. Yeah, that rule was the karma rules for Face Rip. Real quick, for those who haven't played it, in Marvel Face Rip, which was the first Marvel superheroes game, you gained karma points, which were both your experience points and the points that you used to modify dice rolls, which was not a great combination. But you got experience points for the highest stat of a monster, of a bad guy you fought. So if you fought like Scorpion, who has like incredible strength, which is 40, you got 40 experience points or karma points. But you also got karma points for things like going to your job every day. You got karma points for going on a date with Mary Jane. You also lost karma points for doing things like skipping out of that date with Mary Jane to go fight the Scorpion, and so on.
So if I'm Wolverine, I mean, this is going to sound, this might sound bad. Do I get experience points for trying to like hit on Jean Grey and take her away from Cyclops?
You got points
like way better than your uncomfortable relationship with Jubilee.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, you got points for if you actually set up a date with Jean Grey and she went on it with you.
Okay.
Then you get your karma points.
But since Scott's going to cock block you, like that's going to.
Well, I don't know.
Later they fix that.
In the best way possible.
Yeah, later they fix that with a nice little polycule.
The other problem with the karma points is that if you kill somebody, you lose all your karma. And in the game, shooting attacks or edge weapon attacks, if you roll a critical hit, it's an automatic kill. So you could roll well and kill somebody by mistake. There are ways that we house ruled a lot of that out of there later on.
That's where the phrase
Karma for Red.
Because you would just you'd walk in as Wolverine, you'd be like, take my 100 points, throw the dice on the table, I just kill that guy.
Yeah, because you're gonna lose him anyway.
I'm gonna lose him anyway. So
and I think that was one of the earliest games that just about every GM I played with house ruled that after the first time they played it. There were a lot of ways to deal. It wasn't a bad concept. We've talked before about the problem of something where you get both your experience points and your dice roll modifiers out of the same pool.
Yeah, that's when you have mixed currency. That's the XP point and cipher system, which is a mixed currency. And then you wind up, like, I have my own personal rules for how to manage that thing because I want the advancement in most cases more than I want to pass a check. So once I have 4 XP in cipher system, I park those off to the side. And if I get any more, I'll use them to fix die rolls. But I'm getting to the end of this adventure with 4 XP. Like, I just put them under my character sheet, right?
That's a Savage Worlds Benny thing where you put 2 bennies aside to keep yourself alive.
Yeah, that's your stay alive bennies.
Yeah, and you don't touch those till the last fight.
I'm not a fan of mixed currency.
No. I think that's our point. Mixed currencies are there because they're supposed to do the thing that Chris loves, which is make hard decisions, but those aren't fun hard decisions.
Yeah.
They're not dramatic hard
decisions. No, they're not. They're mechanical hard. They're I don't know.
They're super painful.
You know what? This might be a good off the cuff for a future conversation,
or just a conversation that we should have in the future. Like really talking about
mixed currencies.
I will say that a mixed currency like that decision does not create dramatic decisions.
I agree,
because they're often just mechanical decisions. Like depending on where I move in a combat situation and who to attack, that can actually create a dramatic situation in the combat. If I hit or miss or who I'm helping, things like that, it helps tell the story. To me, those experience point versus do I want to re-roll this die, that has it has mechanical impact on advancing my character versus dramatic impact on the story. And I don't know that that's a good way to do that.
In fact, psychologically, most people will take the conservative choice right? So most people
Almost
will be
always.
like, I'm just going to fail this roll
Mhm.
because I'm trying to hold on to these points.
Yes. I mean, this is very much an opinion thing. I don't know that design wise whether it's good or bad. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Although all I know is that most people I talk to can't stand it.
Yeah, there's a play psychology thing, and I'm no expert on this, but there's a play psychology thing that's when you have mechanical choices, you act differently than when you have dramatic choices.
Correct.
Yeah, and you also have the problem because that becomes with mechanical dramatic currency. You end up with a problem that I've had in games when I'm playing where GMs, I'm like, oh, that sounds like something cool. Well, you can do it for a benny. I'm like, nah, never mind, it's not worth it. And the
Right.
GM's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's not worth it.
I got 3 bennies.
Yeah, I've got 3 bennies. It's not worth it. It's not
Right.
worth. You have not made this valuable enough to spend one of my life bennies.
How about if I try it and it goes terribly wrong? I mean, how about I go and try it and you set stakes where either I succeed at the cool thing that I want to do, or if I fail, it goes terribly wrong and you just give me a benny. That's a way more enticing thing.
Yes,
Mhm.
it is.
Yes,
Yes,
Like
it is.
you can now roll the dice and see if you get the thing that you want, or if it goes tragically wrong. Either way, I'll give you this penny.
Yeah, I mean that's like the compel, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you want to go do this thing? That sounds super risky. I will buy this moment to see if you succeed.
Now that is me rewarding you mechanically with a mechanical piece
Mhm.
for doing something that would create interesting drama.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Now I think that's good.
Sure, that's a great
Way
way to
more
use. That's a
interesting.
great way to use a
And
currency.
that's also what I'm seeing as a more modern RPG design. We're seeing more and more games that have that sort of thing in them with currencies like that. Now we're seeing that in things like Cortex.
It's interesting because your points in Cortex almost always, I mean, there is a way to use it to bring in a story element, which you guys haven't had a big need for, but almost it's always to manipulate the dice to hit a target number.
Correct, which will help us create the story. That we
Sure,
want
which
to
is
the table.
great, right? Because it allows you to do the thing where, like, oh, I rolled really well. I didn't have to use, like, oh, I rolled really well. Oh, I could buy an extra die for a second effect die and attack this pool twice in one turn. That's a huge turn of events in the course of a story.
Yes, it is.
I like
Very
that
much.
actually. And then I really love, again, not that we're talking about Cortex, and again, hint, hint, we will be talking about Cortex in
We
a lot more
will.
depth. But I love that you guys, as players, control when you want to get more points.
Yes.
To me, that's great to be like, oh, I'm running a little low here. I'm gonna swap out my distinction die for a D4 and pick up a.
And interestingly, it's not just a compel like in Fate. You still have a chance to succeed at the thing you were doing and you get a point for it.
If you are wisely playing the game, you can build your die pool to buffer that 4 pretty well.
I love that design because it doesn't feel bad to do it. It feels like a risk. Like I'm making a choice to weaken myself to get a point for later that could potentially affect me negatively, but doesn't have to.
Yeah, and if mechanically you're playing smart, you're like, okay, I'm going to leverage, like, there's this trade on the table. I know I can grab that die. That's going to, I got a good chance of offsetting that to get to my total.
Yeah, Cortex is a solid game. I like it. You gonna say something?
People talk.
While we're talking XP, JT had another one that he talked about with playing the Osric games, which is similar to first edition D&D, that the older game systems often had an experience point bonus for having a higher stat,
Yeah.
and also had which actually 3.0 had as well. I remember that from the
it was a
Neverwinter
holdover.
Nights video game. And also that you had to train with a master. So
Oh,
before you could level up, you had to go find somebody of higher level.
I don't hate this rule.
I
I
don't
do.
hate it if you are going to play in a campaign world where you make that accessible to players.
Yes.
That's the things you got to make it accessible.
I feel like you have to if you're playing that game. Otherwise, you're
Sure.
not doing the game service.
Sure, in that case, I want the players to be able to go back to a city.
You have failed as a game master if you don't do that.
So what do you do though when you're a 10th level wizard and now there's no 11th level wizards to train you?
Then the game master
Lich.
should be giving you some way to go find that person.
You need
Okay,
to go
that's
find
fine.
it.
That's my
You need to
point.
go find the lich.
Yes. What I'm saying is that
To train you.
what I'm saying is that in the original edition of the game, that was not something. That's why we used to ignore that rule in the old game, because when you were using a lot of
Those
published
rules were
adventures,
terrible.
they were. But we're talking about games that things we
Sure,
house ruled out, and that's
yeah.
one of the reasons why we house ruled that out.
JT actually says that they dropped that requirement that you have to train with a master
It's because everybody did.
and said instead of that, you only get the XP when you return to town. So
Sure.
you go back for supplies and to rest up. And
Now, first edition D&D, if you were playing a druid or a monk, it got even worse. Because
I love that rule.
I hate this
It
rule.
created a
The
story.
monk rule is the worst one. Like
Yeah.
once you get high enough in level,
you
Yep.
got to kill
there's
the
like
guy up
only
there.
one master of the North
Yeah.
Wind. In order to become the master of the North Wind,
Kill him.
you got to beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those rules were cool to me because it created an actual setting and story inside of the game.
Oh, sure.
That's why I like them. Because
Sure.
your mechanics actually informed your setting.
It did, but there was also a frustration, though, as a player when you worked really hard, got your character to the level you need to be at. Everybody else was leveling up, but before you get to level up, you have to go fight this guy. And if you fail, you don't get to level up. And so now, and we had this happen with one of the players where he tried 3 times, so everybody else was level 13, and he was stuck at level 9 because he could not beat the guy that was against him.
I feel like that's not a game problem. That's a game master problem.
Probably.
I feel after the first fight, if you're the game master, you're like, I'm gonna shave a few hit points off this guy. Like,
oh, no. You remember, Phil, this was the early 80s?
Yeah.
Remember those days?
Suffer.
Yes.
Suffer.
I can't solve for bad game mastering.
No, you can't.
Those classes and things like that, and the titles that went along with them, and like building keeps and things like that, it provided a path for the game to go.
Yes.
And I loved that those rules
I
were
enjoyed
there.
those. There was a lot of flavor to them.
Yeah, they weren't executed very well as like, here, game masters, do these things.
That's where we're going at, is that they introduced a concept and gave the game masters no guidance on how to handle it.
I mean,
did.
that was the
That's
hallmark
all-
of
that's
early
Indies
D&D.
game design.
Yeah,
But-
early
but-
D&D is
but-
like, here's
but
a whole
that's-
bunch of ideas.
And
Good
that's-
fucking luck.
And that's why so many GMs just dropped rules.
Let me tell you, those game masters did those games dirty because they shouldn't have house ruled that way. They just should have figured out how to house rule to make these stories happen.
To be
me,
fair,
that's what I feel.
To be fair, as a middle school 80s game master,
sure, yeah.
in a world that had no internet, no place to talk to another DM or
That's-
something.
These are fair.
Like,
These are fair.
it was,
assessments.
that shit was hard.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
nowadays, like for instance, like Send a Son is playing 5e and a bunch of other games. He's playing Fate and a few other things. That guy, when he runs into an issue, like just goes to his mom and is like,
It's not
hey,
fair.
this thing's happening.
It's fair.
Right?
It's not.
And Senda's like, cool, let me tell you some ideas about like how to how to deal with that.
In the latest Gnome Cat and in the latest Thaco with Advantage, Ange talks about the fact that last week's game, they encountered a monster that none of the players had ever encountered before. And so during a break, she was texting another GM asking him for not advice on the monster, but a whole bunch of rules clarifications
that's true.
mid-game, like, can you do this and does it provoke an attack opportunity?
Which
and-
she was wrong because she thought she was right. It was hilarious. I edited it, so I know.
So you know, I thought that
was funny.
I assume that's your voice at the beginning with all the descriptions.
That's me, yeah.
When I was playing D&D at age 9 and 10 and 11,
Nobody knew this stuff.
Nobody knew this stuff, and also we didn't have. Not only we have the internet, we also didn't have the local stable of gamers. Up until I went to the hobby shop, it was me and 3 other people.
It's like almost
I'm being a
like
little
GM
hoity-toity.
paradise now
okay.
because you're like,
Yes, you
I wish there was some GM advice. Oh, look, Gnome Stew has article upon article of like, oh, look, there's a bundle of holding with a whole bunch of GM advice books from Engine Publishing. Shameless plug.
Till the 30th.
I know this will be out by then.
Is that
This
out,
won't
is
be
that
out
out
by then.
there?
Yeah, it's out there.
I was
Sorry,
I was
y'all
unaware
missed
of
it.
that.
Y'all missed it.
Yeah,
That's all right.
Yeah.
But the point being, like, there's so much available help for GMs now of any skill level.
It's so cool. Like you can go to
Yeah.
YouTube and watch Mercer tell you something. You
Yes.
can watch any number of people.
So
I just
many.
I remember being a kid. And again, was I probably a little too young to be playing role-playing games like on my own? Yes.
Sure.
But there was no alternative, right? So like I never read all of the DMG. Like I was like 10. I looked at it, I'm like, holy shit.
It's a big book.
It was also a bad book.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. It wasn't good. I cherry picked it, right? Like I went through and was like, oh, this is cool. Oh, I need this thing, right? But like the first time you read aerial combat in the DMG, you're like
No.
turning at this. I could never figure out one of Jerry's favorite games as a kid, Villains and Vigilantes. Like I was like the first time I saw like the calculus equation for
Strength.
yeah, I was like, I don't even know the buttons on the calculator to do this.
And
like,
the funny part, and I always laugh about this because the funny part is it's a simple calculation and it makes sense within the mechanics of the game. It's like 3rd grade math.
Third grade math sucked.
It did, but
it
on the
wasn't
flip,
3rd grade math.
and the funny, it's strength times strength times strength plus endurance. How difficult is that? Anyway,
Where was the parentheses?
it's around the strength. So,
Okay, so it's easy enough. That's simple enough.
It's but
That's
they
S cubed.
Order of
it
operations,
is
right?
it is it's 1/10 of your strength cubed plus 1/10 of your endurance times half your weight. That's it. So basically, a person with a strength of 10 could lift their body
That's
weight.
more math than I want to do for role playing.
Yeah.
Well, that
Yes.
was
But
also the
but
80s.
it's a superhero game, so they had to figure out how much strength somebody with a 57 strength could lift.
Y'all wonder why roll a d20 atom modifier was so good.
Yeah.
But that's why it looked like they cracked the fucking atom when you
It
get to 3rd
looked
edition,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Like
The funny thing about the DM guide was just the opposite of Phil is because I used to wake up before everybody else at my house. I would get up every morning and read the Dungeon Master's Guide.
It's not a great book.
And it's not, but it was what I had to
At
read.
the time,
right,
if that's
I'm
the
with
thing.
you.
yeah.
I would read role playing game books until my parents woke up in the morning.
I know we got time.
See, that was my problem was like, just like now, as soon as I started playing D&D, I also started playing like Top Secret, Boot Hill and stuff. And those were actually somewhat more accessible in terms of they were not written in High Gygaxian.
Mhm.
So it was like way easier to just go read Boot Hill.
This is the last thing we'll say
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we have to move on.
Yeah, we're at the end of the questions.
The
also,
high Gygaxian thing, it's got two problems. One, it's written in a way that is Gary Gygax's writing, which is not great.
It's a little
It's-
gatekeepy.
no.
Well, I mean, not great just in general.
Sure.
Like the prose is pretty bad for the most part. The other thing is that when he would write stuff like that, it did not always match up with the stuff that he's writing in Dragon Magazine.
Sure.
Like the articles for there, because he was in a lot of battles with other people about role playing
Yep.
games and why people should play this, that, or the other thing. Because he had a brand he was trying to support while he was still trying to just talk in general about role playing games.
And the thing is, Dragon Magazine was the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's where the Forgotten Realms came from.
Right. While I did not read the DMG, I read every Dragon magazine.
Yes.
When I got my monthly subscription to Dragon
Yes.
magazine, even when I wasn't playing D&D, I read every article in Dragon magazine.
Great book.
Fuck, I
Great
actually
magazine.
miss Dragon
and
magazine.
Which,
White Dwarf,
by the way,
and White Dwarf.
Dragon Magazine is in its entirety freely available, I believe, in the Internet Archive.
Yeah, archive.org,
Oh.
right?
Yeah,
Also, it's defunct now. They just shut it down. There is no more Dragon magazine or Dungeon.
that's too bad. Those were
You're
both
talking
great
about
magazines.
the app-based,
Yes, so
In-
there is
in-
no more even like
Yeah.
Right.
internet stuff.
but the PDF ones, the
Yeah,
original
they exist,
magazines,
yeah.
those I believe on archive.org.
Yes.
All right, that's all the time we have for this. We are actually a little overtime.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, if you have any comments on this, you should join our Slack channel because it's the only really place you can talk to us that will respond.
Yeah.
And I'll have another one of these questions next week, probably for folks. I mean, we won't talk about it for a month because we're on break. So enjoy this while we're on break. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Bye bye.